Welcome to the Chess World Cup, where the best chess minds in the world compete for the title of World Champion. While Magnus Carlsen has taken third place on the podium here on two separate occasions, he returns this year determined to bring home the title of World Champion. The man standing in his way is the renowned Praggnanandhaa Rameshbabu, a powerful contender. The 18-year-old is the youngest player ever to reach a Chess World Cup Final. Pragg was starting to pose a huge threat to Magnus's crown, having eliminated none other than Hikaru Nakamura himself 2-0 during the early stages of the tournament. Finally, these two competitors are locked in and ready to stake their claim for the world champion title. Pragg opens with pawn to e4, met by Magnus's pawn to e5, setting up for a double king's pawn opening. Pragg continues with knight to f3, establishing an early control over the center. Magnus answers with knight to c6, forming a Ruy Lopez, a popular variation. Pragg plays bishop to c4, signaling his intentions to pursue the Spanish game. Magnus, not one to back down in these types of situations, plays knight to f6, initiating a direct challenge on the center. Pragg plays d3, showing a focus on his queenside development, a clear attempt to get his queen activated early. Magnus, starting on the weaker side of the board, must continue to match Pragg's positions in order to have a chance at victory. The board develops, with Pragg castling on the king side. Now that he has a strong foundation, he advances pawn to a4, which Magnus must counter with a5. Notice Pragg removes his jacket. It's subtle body language, but shows he is fully focused on this match. Pragg, looking to finally stir things up, moves his queenside bishop to e3, offering Magnus a bishop trade. Magnus takes some time to deliberate this, but inevitably accepts the trade, knowing that if they are both low on materials, he holds the endgame advantage. Magnus, keen on maintaining a solid structure, castles kingside. Both players continue to set up, looking for openings in each other's defenses. Pragg finds another chance to strike and moves his queen to g3, threatening Magnus's kingside. Magnus, calmly taking his time, uses almost 4 minutes on the clock before positioning his knight to h5. Pragg decides to continue his attack, advancing his queen to g5, challenging Magnus's knight. Magnus responds brilliantly, moving his pawn to g6, ensuring that his knight could not be captured without Pragg also losing his queen. Completely undeterred by Magnus's efforts, Pragg shifts his knight to f5, an intriguing move that ensures the exchange of at least several pieces on each side. Magnus holds many options and opts to take White's f5 knight with his bishop. The f5 position is again recaptured by Pragg's pawn, taking Magnus's bishop. After this tolling exchange, both players take some time to fortify their defense before jumping right back into the attack. Magnus positions his queen on f6, offering Pragg a queen trade. Trading down versus Magnus can be dangerous, as he is frequently considered the best endgame player in history. Pragg, refusing to back down, accepts the trade, and in order to keep his tempo, exchanges pawns with Magnus on the g6 square. After a few moves, Magnus strategically moves rook to d8, threatening Pragg's queenside pieces, which Pragg responds on rook f2. Magnus quickly takes control and pushes his rook to d4, keeping the center contained. Pragg plays a strong move, stacking his rooks on the king side of the board, which should prove a tough position for Magnus to solve. Magnus takes his time to quickly shore up his defenses with knight g8. Pragg attempts to scare the rook on d4 as Magnus immediately retreats, aware that losing a rook will give away his advantage. Each grandmaster remains stoic and unfazed. While materials are even on both sides, time is running low. Any move could be the deciding factor. Offense on both sides prepare for the endgame, and Magnus takes the leap, moving rook to f6, presenting Pragg with a rook trade. Pragg inevitably accepts, but not at no cost, as he lost valuable time making this decision. Magnus, knowing he has the edge, moves quickly with every turn, heavily applying the pressure on Pragg. Pragg pushes pawn to a6. Magnus takes shutting down the a-file pawn. Time continues to fall as Pragg develops his bishop and knight on the left side. Magnus counters with knight to f4. Pragg, looking for a way out, offers a rook exchange on c2. Magnus denies and proceeds to put White in check with his knight on h3. Pragg desperately counters with a check of his own, taking a pawn with his knight on c6. Magnus calmly moves his king to safety. Pragg, knowing he has almost no time left, understands it's only a matter of time before Magnus can put him mate. Rather than delay the inevitable, he resigns from the match, crowning Magnus Carlsen his first champion title at the Chess World Cup. If you want to see the young prodigy Praggnanandhaa take on one of the best in the world, make sure to check out his game versus Hikaru.